topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to Life with Open Pages Publishing. We all have a purpose in life. Sometimes we just need a little motivation to point us in the right direction. This show is designed to help you create the life you were meant to live. I'm your host, Michelle Spikanis. My goal is to motivate you to make simple life changes so you can experience a life with meaning, direction, love, and peace. Now let's start the show. Hello and welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Michelle Spikanis. And tonight we're going to talk about when the lights go out. Now, when the power goes out, we all feel pretty inconvenienced, right? And I don't know about you, but I don't know what goes on behind the scenes to get that power back on, especially during, like after a hurricane, a major storm. You know, and do you know that those linemen they're away from their families for up to 8 to 12 weeks at a time? And what happens to the linemen if they're, a casualty in the line of duty? Now, my guest, Jenna Ritter of the Linelife Foundation, she's going to inform us about their proven track record on assisting families at times of, say, accidents or fatalities and helping the linemen while they're on storm restoration. Now, she's not only my special guest today, but she's also my daughter. So please welcome to the show, Jenna Ritter.
Hi.
Hello. So glad to have you. Now, I'm so proud of you and the work that you're doing with the Linelife Foundation. And I've been just so blown away by everything that happens kind of behind the scenes. So, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us how you got started with the Linelife Foundation.
Well, my name is Jenna. I am one of the co-founders and directors of the Linelife Foundation. We were established back in 2018, not long after Hurricane Irma here in Southwest Florida. A friend of mine who is actually the president of the foundation, Anne Marie, she owns a company called Line Junk up in Pennsylvania, and she kind of does a lot of behind the scenes with these things and has been doing it a lot on her own. And after Hurricane Irma, I reached out. Some group ladies had approached me, and as a line wife myself, because my husband is obviously a power lineman, we reached out and they were like, hey, can you help these guys with laundry? And can you get them some snacks and food? And we just kind of went from there. And collectively as a whole, we decided there was something missing in the industry. And Anne-Marie truly believed that we got this group of ladies together, that this was something, a void that we could fill. And we've been filling it, and it's a lot of work, but it definitely is very fulfilling.
That's great. Now, okay, so walk us through, say there's been a major hurricane that hit the area, just like the one that was, recently in Louisiana. It was really a lot of the posts and stuff that I saw on Facebook that really kind of opened my eyes to the size of the organization and the size of the people that help. But say once your husband gets the information to go out on storm watch or the duty that he's going to do, kind of walk us through that initial notification and what happens during that process.
So depending on the area, Louisiana, for example, with Hurricane Ida, that is Entergy. Kind of like in Florida, we have FPL, and out there is Entergy, and they create what they call storm rosters. And they just kind of give a list of the companies, how many guys they need. When it comes down to it, they could have anywhere from 24 to 48 hours notice to get ready and go. The Linelife Foundation, we're sitting back. We know the storms are coming. We're constantly watching during hurricane season, the Weather Channel and all those things to really see where's it going, what area is it in. Prior to a hurricane hitting, the foundation side, we're more looking what area is it looking like it's going to. and we're reaching out to a lot of our volunteers and saying, hey, who's in this area, who's maybe outside this area that's willing when the storm's over to come in and help. So, I mean, this is depending on how quickly the storm forms and hits, just like the linemen, we literally have 24 to 48 hours to start finding volunteers and get ready ourselves.
Okay. So, say they get up there, and of course, I know they go to a waiting area and a holding area. They're waiting to see where they're going to be assigned. Once you know where they're going to be assigned, these volunteers that you have, are they all lineman wives, or are they general public? Who are they?
A lot of it really depends. It may start out with a line wife in that area, somebody that we know, somebody that's one of our volunteers for the foundation. And it really kind of goes from there. Next thing you know, excuse me, the neighbors are jumping in, or their families are jumping in. When it comes to the storm restoration part of our work, majority of it is not line wives. It's a lot of times it's neighbors, it's people of the communities that just really want to help these guys stay fed, stay hydrated, clean clothes and things like that, because they know if they're in a better position to work, it might get their power back on a little bit sooner, but that's obviously not a guarantee, but there's no magical switch that everybody keeps hoping for. But, you know, I do love that the communities step up the way they do. And then what we do is we ask them, send us your receipts. We send you to a crew of 30 guys that said, hey, I need help, we can't seem to find food. They send us the receipts, and instantly, if they have PayPal, we reimburse them right away. If they do not have PayPal, we can write them a check and mail it to them, kind of, you know, whatever is easiest for them. But we do want to reimburse them, you know, as soon as possible for them putting out their own money to help complete strangers.
Wow, that's really cool. You know, the Bible says the biggest commandment is to love one another. And in just watching on Facebook, the messages, the pictures, I mean, there's a lot of kids involved that are helping. It just shows such love and such compassion for these guys, because, you know, how many hours a day do they work in general?
During storm, I believe it's 16 hours.
Wow, that's a lot of hours. And that's every day, or do they
Yes.
get a day off in between?
During storm work, there's no days off. It is 16-hour days, 7 days a week until you're either released or the power comes back on.
Right, right. And that is 8 to 12 weeks at a time, correct?
Correct.
And then they go home and they rest a little. Do they go back at times?
There have been times. A lot of it really truly depends on the area and a lot of the contract stuff. Obviously, you know, we don't get involved in those parts, but, you know, for example, with the most recent Hurricane Ida, there's places that were completely devastated. You can't build poles and rebuild an entire structure in, you know, 4 to even 12 weeks. This is going to be they're saying 3 to 5 year project. So that becomes more of a job for somebody that's going to be there for 3 to 5 years.
Oh, wow. So tell us about, you know, what your husband has told you about, like, some of the working conditions, things that they've had to push through and work through to try and restore some of this power.
Well, I can tell you things from a million other guys, not just him. Especially, you know, with the foundation, we have a lot of followers on Facebook, linemen, obviously, and they send us messages, they send us photos, you know, all the pictures that we post and share. You know, it's not a director out there in Louisiana or Florida or wherever that hurricane hit. These are pictures we're getting from the guys. They'll tell us, you know, they're going through swamps, they're in mosquito areas. You have guys from up north that are not used to the humidity of the South, and it's a totally different ballgame for them when they come down here. But you know, a lot of it is, it gets a little sketchy at times depending on what areas you're in. They do sometimes, depending on the area, try to give you a no, don't be out after dark curfew.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure every area is different. I remember back when we had gone through Hurricane Andrew. I mean, you knew your town, but you lost all your landmarks. So it was kind of hard to know where you were and when to be out after dark, when not to be out after dark, and it can be a pretty scary time. Let's go back to, okay, so they're gone from their family for say 8 to 12 weeks. What is the communication between the wives and the linemen?
Well, one of the things at the foundation, we do tell a lot of, not just, we're called seasoned line wives that have been in this, with our husbands for, more than 10 or so years and in this type of job life. We do try to talk to a lot of the, newbie wives, and we tell them, especially when they're just working in general, but on storm, take a call when you can get it. But if, you text them and they don't answer, that's normal. They may not have self-service. They may be up in a bucket working on a power line. They can't stop and, take a call. Communication is pretty sparse. It comes and goes. Sometimes they're in areas where there is absolutely no self-service. There's been times that I'll go 2 to 3 days, unfortunately, without speaking to my own husband, but, I know he's okay, and I know he'll communicate when he can. And that's kind of what we have to hold on to, is knowing no news is good news, and just to be patient. And, we got to keep everything going here on the home front and stay busy and let them do what they're there to do and something that they love to do.
So just how do you keep things going for 8 to 12 weeks when you're home trying, run a household and kids and sports and everything that's involved? I mean, I know we do what we have to do, but how do most of the wives, deal with that? Is there a group where you kind of chat back and forth and help each other, or how does that work?
Well, it's Facebook especially. There are so many Facebook pages for line wives in general, whether you're a line wife, a line girlfriend, a line mom, anything of that nature. There's a lot of Facebook groups, and we do use them for support groups. I know I've reached out to them, especially when I was new in this, or, he's never been gone this long on storm. So it was something I wasn't used to for that long. We reach out and we talk to girls that are, and women that are in our shoes. It's not many people understand the life that we live. It's hard to plan vacations. It's hard to plan holidays because you never know when there's going to be a power outage. So things happen, and you just kind of get used to just trucking on. Myself, my son keeps me busy with sports. He, plays year-round baseball and things like that. So we're constantly on the go. I work during the day. The foundation, especially during storm time, has me completely consumed anyways, with dealing with the volunteers and finding volunteers and helping the guys get the things they need. That's how I stay busy. And I'm even busy when he gets home, because just because he's home doesn't mean I'm done helping.
Sure, absolutely. So back in the introduction, of course, we talked about them being gone 8 to 12 weeks, but I also mentioned those, losing a family, losing a lineman in the course of duty. What does the foundation provide for something like that?
Accidents and fatalities are actually kind of the biggest things that we help with. Storms, obviously, you may get 1 or 2 big storms a year, but unfortunately, we have way too many accidents and fatalities in this industry. As somebody who is not a lineman or affiliated in that business, I'm just with a nonprofit. I can't say how it happened, why it happened. All I care is that it happened, and we want to be there for the families. The doctors and nurses are there to take care of the lineman that was injured at work, but there's nobody there for the families. When a wife gets a phone call and says, hey, your husband's been hurt at work, you need to get to this hospital. Majority in this industry work states away or hours away. So they're literally dropping everything and running to the hospital or wherever he is. We find volunteers in that area, and we get totes together, big clear boxes, Tylenol, ibuprofen, tissues, pillows, snacks, just things that, change of clothes, things they wouldn't have packed or thought to bring. And we have volunteers. We have over 2,300 volunteers within the United States that we do a call out for them. We put a city and state. We have a private Facebook group called Linelife Foundation Hearts and Hands. This is nothing but the wives and the moms and the aunts. This is all women that are in this industry somehow. These women are amazing. Without them, this foundation would be nowhere. They will drop everything they're doing, no matter what day of the week it is. I have seen people drop in the middle of cooking Thanksgiving dinner to go help a wife or deliver things to a wife at a hospital. But that's what they do. And, they bring them comfort from a wife who understands this business and understands we're all scared when our husbands leave for work because you never know what could happen. And similar to with the storm restoration, they will send us the receipts and everything, and we reimburse them 100%. With fatalities, obviously that's a little different. We're not going to a hospital. We do make contact with a family member, if not the wife, and we wait for permission. We won't bombard them. We are not going to sit there and hound them going, let us help you, let us help you. If they would allow us to step in and then help, we will. If they, want their privacy respected, we will do that as well. And we're kind of there for them. We do give them a one-time payment from the foundation. We'll do online donations on our websites where people can go on and make donations. And we give 100% of those donations to those families. The foundation eats the costs, eats the fees that PayPal takes out and things like that. So 100% of that money that anybody gives the foundation goes directly to that family.
So you talk about donations, monetary, food, comfort, those kind of things. Where do all those donations, where does that money come from?
The donations come from all of our followers on Facebook, Instagram, anything like that. Companies give us donations as well. We do have it set up on PayPal where you can just set up kind of a reoccurring monthly or weekly donation. We are also, we have Amazon Smile. So we do get people that use the foundation as their charity. We do get that as well. People donate directly through Facebook. But it definitely a lot comes from the line families. I would say is probably 90% of where all the money comes from.
Okay. And the families, of course, it's hard on them when they lose somebody. But do you still see them stepping up? Say, a wife lost her husband, and he's gone, and several months or a year later, there's a storm. Do you still see them participating to help out? Have you noticed that at all?
I have noticed it a lot more recently. I actually, it really touched my heart recently when there was a few fatalities earlier this year. And as I'm monitoring all the donations coming in for these families, it really touched me to start recognizing specific names. And I recognize those names because those were families that we have helped in situations where they were in an accident at work, or their husband, lost his life on the job. And it was really touching to see it. We came full circle that, we helped them maybe 2 years ago. And now they're in a position where they want to help families like, that understand what they're going through. They get it. This is something I don't understand. I don't even pretend to understand what it would be like to be in their shoes, but to see somebody that does, to turn around and help somebody else in that same position, to me, it was absolutely just, it not broke my heart, but touched my heart and definitely made me cry. And it takes a lot to make me cry, and it does, but it's happy tears.
Sure, absolutely. I just, I can't, like you said, you can't imagine. Nobody can ever imagine in losing somebody until it happens to you. And, we definitely pray that never happens. But we want to make sure that I want the listeners to really understand the compassion that your volunteers have, and, their reasoning for stepping up. It's not just their family, it's other families. And to give, just because it's just so amazing to watch. Now, the most recent storm in Louisiana, were there times where the guys weren't covered with help? And what did you do?
In the beginning, they usually aren't. The first week is always rough. That is probably one of the roughest times we have, just from our perspective, just us directors of the foundation talking of things that we're seeing and guys we're talking to and things like that. We do see the beginning is the hardest time because FEMA's not there. The trailers aren't there. FEMA brings in trailers for them to stay in. FEMA brings in the laundry, to do for the guys and things like that. They bring in the tents with all the food. And we did notice this last time that it wasn't there. It took longer. Usually, day 4, day 5, you're seeing FEMA set up, and we're on day 7, day 8, and there's still hundreds of guys sleeping in their trucks, making makeshift blow-up mattresses in the bed of their trucks or on the ground. And it's like, these guys are working extremely long hours in very hot and humid weather, and they don't have a cold room, obviously, to go back into because there's no power. But they're sitting out there and they're literally, I've seen pictures of them sleeping on the concrete this last hurricane. And I mean, it was hard to see. It was hard to watch. But we will call around to hotels after hotel after hotel, trying to find these guys rooms. One thing I noticed with this last storm was something I've never seen in all my years of dealing with storms, was the people of Louisiana opened their homes. They had power. They said, hey, it's, just me and my husband or me and my wife living here. I've got 4 extra bedrooms. They were allowing these linemen, complete strangers, to come in and stay in their homes. They were feeding them breakfast. They would pack them lunches. And when they'd get back, they'd have dinner. It was something I've never seen before. I couldn't imagine just opening my home and just allowing, 10 to 16, complete strangers in to stay with me for 3 to 4 weeks at a time. But they did. And it was something I've never seen. And it was probably just the most amazing thing to ever see.
Wow, that's heartwarming. God is good. He is good. So let's talk about the other side of it, though, because I know there's other stories of people not being so nice because they want their power on and they want it now. Can you tell us some of those?
We do hear a lot of stories from the guys. And obviously the biggest joke is, people seem to think there's a magical light switch. The light switches you see in your houses that turn your lights on and off. That is not what these guys are out there dealing with. Couldn't tell you exactly what they're dealing with because I know nothing. My husband talks about work. He says names of parts and lines and things, and I just go, and just shake my head and go with it. But I know it's very complicated. That I do know. And it's a very dangerous job, but I've seen people put out signs. The most recent one I saw this last time was, they kept going out and changing the day. Day 14, no power, with an arrow pointing this way. We're like, oh, glad you put that sign up. I don't think anybody would have known you were without power without that sign.
Right. What else?
I've seen just little funny things. A lot of people will put, free beer for power, which please don't ever give the lineman beer while they're working, obviously. I've seen them come up and try to give them, food and say, hey, I'll bring you food tomorrow if my power's on. And they may starve tomorrow if you're not, they have no control over what areas they're working on.
Sure. Okay, well, hold that thought. We're going to take a short break. It's time for a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation. At Open Pages Publishing, we offer coaching, marketing packages, and other professional writing services such as a resume, articles, copywriting services, press releases, social media, and blog posting.
For more information, email us at info@openpagespublishing.com. And now back to our show.
Okay, so we're back. So, I've seen a lot of pictures of kids helping out, like I said before, and it just warms my heart because you can just see the smile on their face when they're bringing somebody some food or something. Tell us about that.
I love the kids. The kids are probably one of my favorite parts is to watch them. They love to go and help, mom or, grandma, whoever's going out to see the guys in the big trucks, and the power trucks is what they call it a lot, is the power trucks. And they think it's the coolest thing. They love to hand the guys drinks. They feel like they are the biggest helpers. And the guys are great. They may look mean and, big bearded guys, because that's a big thing in the line world is you got to have the longest beard. And, so they do look a little scruffy at times, but these kids love it. And next thing you know, they want to be a lineman, for Halloween. I've already seen a lot of pictures of, kids getting in their costumes. But the guys are amazing with the kids. They always have a couple extra hard hats or, a work shirt or something that they give them. They let them take pictures in their big sleeves and all these things. And, it's kind of like the kids going to see the fire trucks. I think it's so cool to see the fire truck. And, they get to do that to be, with the linemen too. And it's so much fun to them.
So are there any events that the foundation does to help raise money?
Yes. So throughout the year, depending on the month and what we have at the time or what we've been donated, we do a lot of donations. We have drawings, and depending on the time of the year, things like that as to how big or small it is. Obviously, towards the end of the year, around Christmas and New Year's, we always, usually have something big. I don't know how it's going to go this year with, supplies being very low with a lot of the companies, but the companies will donate to us very expensive and high in demand items, whether it be the lineman hooks, to climb the poles, really nice tools and things like that. And we'll sit there and we'll make a drawing for it. And depending on what it is, let's say it's a $10 entry, for every $10 you donate is how many times your name will go into that drawing. And then we draw a winner, and it's always a lot of fun to do the drawings because we know people get so excited out, oh, I've never won anything before, and they're so thankful. But really, the foundation is thankful. We are beyond thankful because not only do the companies donate amazing items, but people have donated hard-earned money that we get to use to help storm restoration, receipts, or we get to help families after an accident or fatality, that need it. And being able to get these things right now, the more donations for us, the better. Every year we keep looking at the numbers and they just keep going up. We're in almost November of this year for 2021. We've already had 53 accidents, an additional 32 fatalities. Those are only the ones the foundation knows about. That is not the total, here's be all number. There are so many more that people don't tell us about, or we don't hear about, or we may hear months later. And even if we hear months later, we still want to help. But we love doing the donations and the drawings, and to us, they're a lot of fun. We'll sit there and we'll pull names out of a hard hat. I have my own little hard hat from the International Lineman Rodeo I went to a couple years ago. They had pink hard hats they were giving out. And of course, I had to have it. But I love using things like that, just really having a lot of fun with it.
So if a company wanted to donate or individuals wanted to donate, how can they donate to you?
They actually just go to our website, www.linelifefoundation.com. You'll see a button on there that says donate. And pretty much it's all through PayPal. Or if you don't have PayPal or, don't want to do it that way and you'd rather write a check, we do accept checks made out to the Linelife Foundation. And you can, email me and I can get you an address of where to ship it.
Okay. And for those that are listening and not watching the live show, what is your email address?
It's Jenna, Jenna, at linelifefoundation.com.
Great, great. So it's really interesting that you get all these donations and you have drawings. And has any other kind of line of work or career contacted the foundation to see how you set things up so that they could do something for their people?
Actually, no, they haven't, but we do get other forms of people that want to be a part of the foundation as to the type of people that we help. For example, it does break our heart to say, I'm sorry, but you're not a power lineman. You're not in that industry. Our foundation cannot help you. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have very strict rules with the IRS that we have to follow. And if we make one exception, then it's just going to open the door from there. And we don't want to lose that nonprofit status. We want to be able to help, the power line industry as much as we can. Things like, the tree trimmers, the cable guys, yes, they're up in the buckets. Yes, they're near the power lines. Unfortunately, they are a different line of work that we can't help. And we do only help on the job accidents and or fatalities. It breaks our heart when we hear that a lineman was lost to cancer or a car accident over the weekend that was not work related. We hate that we can't help. We want to help everybody, but unfortunately we have to follow the mission statement that we created when we first started this foundation back in 2018.
Sure. And I know when there's a fatality, because I know that, you've told me about this, but you've actually attended funerals of people that you don't know. Does that happen when you reach out to the other women or men that are in this group? Do they try and do that as well?
Yes, if it's something local, a lot of the volunteers, whether they knew the family or not, they will. You will have complete strangers. One thing I have noticed about a lineman funeral is they're not small, not by any means. And the few, actually, I should say, I've been to, I never physically met any of those guys. I've heard about them. I may have mutual friends with them. My husband may have mutual friends with them. But just seeing, the wife and the kids and the family members knowing, my husband's in the same line of work and I couldn't imagine being in their shoes. It is hard to be there, but I know we need to be there. We need to be there for the families, whether it's myself or a volunteer, even if we're just standing in the back, staying, kind of back. I don't want to be at a funeral and obviously be like, hi, I'm here with the Linelife Foundation. No, that's not why I'm there. I don't wear anything that affiliates me with the foundation. I do dress funeral appropriate. But they're hard to go to. It's, but what funeral is easy at the end of the day?
Sure. Now, how many people are actually running this foundation right now?
Right now, there are 4 directors, and we are actually the 4 original co-founders. So we have been with this baby since day one. Complete strangers, the 4 of us. We're literally complete strangers. May have crossed paths through, other means throughout the years, but literally complete strangers. These are now my sisters. I speak to these women every day, all day, and whether it's, foundation or just life, we all get each other. We all have this passion to help people and do what we do. But we are the 4. Obviously, I am here in Southwest Florida. We have Anne Marie, our president. She is up in Pennsylvania. There is Anne. She is and she's probably going to be so mad at me because I always get these mixed up. It's either Michigan or Minnesota. It's one of the M's, and I'm horrible, I know. And then we have Amy, who is in California. I am the only non-first name starting with A. I laugh about this all the time. I'm the random J over here. But throughout we're the heads, the directors, the co-founders. Underneath that, we have, I think it's over 2,300 volunteers. This is all the ladies.
Wow, that's amazing that just in a few short years that you've been able to build it up to over 2,300 volunteers. I mean, that is amazing.
We never expected it to grow overnight, and that's exactly what I feel like it did. I felt like it was something that we just thought was barely going to make it. This was an idea, this was a thought. We never knew and or dreamed it would be where it is today. And of course, we still want it to grow more. That is our goal. We want to help help more people, help them all. So we're going to see how it keeps going.
Sure. And so you mentioned there's people like all over different states. So you do cover all of the United States?
Yes, we do. We have literally volunteers in every single state. And we were so excited. When we completed them all, we were happy.
Now, I know that y'all went down to Puerto Rico, which is, I guess, kind of part of us. But is there anything international that you're aware of? Any kind of foundation similar to yours for international?
Not that I'm aware of. I know there's some, I met them actually at one of the lineman rodeos in Florida a couple years ago. There is a Christian group that goes, I believe, overseas, but off the top of my head, I do not know much about them.
Okay, so they haven't been invited down to say Haiti because of the earthquake or anything like that?
I'm not sure. My husband doesn't do those kind of things, so I don't hear too much about, where they go as outside of the United States. So I'm honestly not 100% sure on that one. Sorry.
So you talk about a lineman rodeo. Tell me about that.
Those are so much fun. It is actually, I personally don't know where they came up with the word rodeo, but it is a bunch of, power line poles just lined up, and it's different competitions, racing up the pole, changing something out the fastest. It is so much fun to go to. I've been to a couple here in Florida to go and watch and things like that. And the biggest one, the international, is up in Kansas City. And I did go to that one a couple years ago, and I took my son with me, and we had a blast. The foundation had a booth, and it was a lot of fun. We got to meet, linemen that we maybe had been talking to, wives we had talked to on Facebook or Instagram or something. And it was really cool to, meet them face to face and let them put a face to who they've been talking to as well, and the people that they're reaching out to. But they are called the rodeos, and they are so much fun to go to.
So is there any upcoming that you're aware of?
There is one in Florida. I know it's in February 2022. The Kansas one literally just happened a week and a half ago, and I missed it. But I am trying to get to the one in Florida. I'm still trying to get more information as to location. All I know right now is I believe it's February 2022. That's the extent of it at this time.
Now, will there be something posted on the website about
Yes.
when this will take place? Because it sounds like fun to watch.
They are fun to watch. We'll share it on Facebook if there's any events that any of us are going to for kind of, hey, let's meet, let's talk. We'll bring hard hat stickers and all those things. And once I know for sure that either we have a booth there, or if just, it'll be one of those, find the directors walking around. You never know where I'll be. So it's all going to depend on what is available as to if we can have a booth or not. If not, I'll be there walking around, and we keep it all posted on our Facebook and our Instagram.
Okay. Now, it's really important. I want you to tell us again your website and your email, because I really feel that there's some people out there that would just absolutely love to donate.
Okay. My email is jenna@linelifefoundation.com, and our website is www.linelifefoundation.com. Once you go to the website, you just click on the donate button. And also, it finally just dawned on me, our other director in neither of the states I mentioned, it's Wisconsin.
Well, maybe general vicinity. I'm not sure.
We all know I am not the best at geography.
Not looking at a map right now, but
I know.
it's okay. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
But you can also donate on our Facebook page. I know there's a donate now button. A lot of people, I know if you're ever scrolling through Facebook and you see those posts, for my birthday this year, I'd like to donate to da 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 da. Linelife Foundation, because we are a nonprofit and we are designated through Facebook as a nonprofit, we do get a lot of money raised in that way as well. So, the next time you have a birthday coming up, if you want to be able to go on and, go to our page, and it'll create all the wording for you, and you just, raise money, and it's just going to help families. That's all it's doing. Every one of our directors, and this is something that the four of us are so proud to say, we are nonprofit. 100%, none of the directors are paid. We all have jobs. We all have regular, normal daytime jobs. And, there's a lot of times I have to take a lot of phone calls or text messages during work because of, accidents happen during the day. But we are all not paid. If, we go and we help people, that's what we're going to do. We're not going to worry about, being reimbursed or, things like that. There is no reimbursements for us. We are as much volunteers as our volunteers are.
Now, I have to ask, because I know there's scammers out there. And, when you mentioned people just send you receipts and you reimburse them, how do you verify that they did what they said they did?
Well, they do have to come to us. What happens is, like, for example, with a storm, I'll use that as our clearest example. A lineman will reach out to us and say, hey, is there any way you can get us some food? There's no tent set up. We can't leave the job site. And there's nothing for miles. Hey, got it. We're on it. Let us find somebody. We will find that volunteer and say, okay, who is in this area or who can get to this vicinity? If so, here's, some things that they need. We have actually, we've gotten the request from the linemen. We have secured the volunteer. It is not just random people sending us receipts going, here you go, please, reimburse me. Here's my PayPal. We don't work that way. We do coordinate and get them all set up as to what volunteer is assigned to which group or which request.
Okay, so the power's out. They're getting all these supplies. How do they keep things cold or keep things fresh?
Coolers. A lot of coolers filled with ice. With Ida most recently, most of our volunteers were coming in from 1 to 2 hours away. They were filling ice coolers as well and bringing the guys ice. A lot of local gas stations that were running off of, generators were able to get the guys, ice for their coolers, but definitely keeping things in their coolers was the biggest thing. I mean, these guys will live on sandwiches, lunch meat, cheese, and bread for quite a few weeks. Because that's, kind of the only things they can do. They don't have a stove or a microwave or, things like that, just hiding in their trucks. Sometimes they bring just little mini grills, and maybe they'll bring some frozen hamburgers and maybe have those one night, or, but a lot of the guys do like to come a little bit prepared. We hope they're getting better at it. We do have on our website, and we also post it on Facebook as a storm's coming. It's a storm checklist. And it's, especially for a lot of the newer linemen out there that maybe some of the guys aren't telling them, hey, you might want to look at this checklist. If you think you'll be gone for, 1 to 2 weeks, here's a call and pack this. 2 to 4 weeks, there's a call and pack this. How long do you think you're going to be gone? Look at this checklist, and it gives great examples. And, we update it as, more things come to mind. If you're going to a flooded area, you bring waders. It's just in boot dryers. Boot dryers are huge in demand when it comes to these guys on storm. So it's always good to think of things, think ahead of what you're going to need. And we do like to post. Once hurricane season is starting come June 1st, it is a constant reminder, start getting these things ready now for storms, because you never know when you're going to get the call.
So what about snowstorms? Do they get called out during snowstorms as well?
They do get called out for ice storms, is what they call them up there. And it's pretty similar. We do help as needed. Obviously, they're not as big and devastating as a hurricane. Luckily, they're a lot easier to fix. However, I live in Southwest Florida. We don't have those here. So I don't know how long their power, stays out, or, things like that. But I hear about them, and I do see the guys talking, and obviously with two of my directors who go through them a lot, I do hear them talk about them, and, but luckily, knock on wood, those storms don't last as long as a hurricane restoration.
That's good to know. But I tell you what, I remember, like I said, during Hurricane Andrew, and it was hot because it was in August. So I can only imagine the power going out for a length of time and you're really cold. So it's definitely not something that you want to go through either way, for sure. So Jenna, is there anything else that you can share, maybe that's on your website that would be important to people, or just anything they need to know?
I would definitely check out our website. We do have a section called Just in Case Forms. It'll say JIC Forms. And those are things a lot of people don't think about. And we are not lawyers. We do not claim to be lawyers. But these are legal documents, a will, power of attorney, whether it's medical, financial, and things like that. These are things you need to have updated at all times, because unfortunately, you never know when it's your time. You don't get a say so in it. When God says it's time to go, it's your time. Period. Point blank. So we're constantly telling these guys and these families, make sure at all times your affairs are in order, especially before you go away, for a storm or anything like that, or if you're leaving the country to go work a storm restoration, or just in general. Just have these things. Have your will always up to date. Make sure you have designated who can make medical decisions in the event you can't. Always have those updated, but we do have them on our website. So you can definitely just check those out. They are just forms that you can just kind of fill in the blanks, have an attorney review them before you have them signed and notarized or not. That's your call. That's your decision. Make sure you go by your own state laws, of course, but definitely just make sure your affairs in this line of work are always in order, because you never know.
That's great advice for anybody, actually. We just don't think about it, but it could happen at any time. Jen, I want to thank you for coming on the show and sharing the Linelife Foundation with us.
You're very welcome, Mom.
It's been fun. Well, thank you so much. Hey, listen, if you'd like to be a guest on my show, or if you'd like to be a sponsor, please reach out to me at info@openpagespublishing.com. This is Michelle Svikanis reminding you to live the life you were meant to live.